Welcome to Just Asia, HRC TV's weekly human rights program. These are the headlines. A Filipino lawyer has asked the International Criminal Court to charge President Duterte with crimes against humanity. Student lynching in Pakistan raises questions on blasphemy law. Video surfaces of Indian couple beaten and stripped. Indonesian president urged to set up a special inquiry into acid attack. 2 years after Nepal earthquake, some victims are still living in tents. Urgent appeals from India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. Welcome to HRC TV's Just Asia. I'm Jessica Fernando. This week, Just Asia begins with a call from the Filipino lawyer Jude Josue Sabio, who has asked the International Criminal Court at The Hague to charge President Duterte and 11 other officials with mass murder and crimes against humanity. A 77-page complaint to the court on Monday states that Mr. Duterte was the mastermind of a campaign that has killed more than 9,400 people since 1988, when Mr. Duterte was first elected mayor of Davao City in the southern Philippines. Mr. Sabio represents two men, Edgar Matabato and Arturo Las Cañas, members of the Davao Death Squad, a unit created and directed by Mr. Duterte when he was mayor. The squad was used to eliminate small-time drug dealers as well as Mr. Duterte's political opponents. According to the complaint, Mr. Duterte replicated the methods used by the death squad nationwide after becoming president. As an impartial investigation would be impossible in the Philippines, where the political and legal system is controlled by the president and his allies, Mr. Sabio argues that the International Court has the responsibility to investigate and prosecute. In Pakistan, blasphemy accusations have become the most lethal tool for accusers who want to take revenge on their targets. The horrific mob lynching of a student, Mashal Khan, is raising questions about the utility of an archaic and draconian blasphemy law that is misused with impunity. Pakistan's blasphemy law has been condemned as making a mockery of the rule of law and defying common sense. It has been used for decades to repress religious minorities and other vulnerable groups. Pakistani police have firmly declared that Mashal Khan did not commit blasphemy. In fact, the 23-year-old journalism student spoke out against Abdul Wali Khan University's embezzlement of funds, which led to the university administration falsely instigating student mobs against him. A mob broke into Mashal's hotel room, beat him up, and shot him on April 13th. For the first time in such cases, large sections of Pakistani society came out in protest against Mashal's murder, calling for justice. Justice requires abolishing the blasphemy law, says Baseer Naveed of the Asian Human Rights Commission. Next, a video surfaced on social media in India showing a young couple being beaten up and paraded naked around Shambhupura village in the state of Rajasthan. The young couple had married against the wishes of their parents and the village panchayat and were thus stripped and beaten on April 16th by more than 15 people, including each of their fathers. Police have reportedly detained 4 people in connection with the incident. This incident drew outrage for both the violence and also for the brazen manner in which onlookers recorded the violence without intervening. India is seeing a rise in vigilante mobs taking the law into their own hands and indulging in acts of violence for mostly communal and religious reasons. In Indonesia, there are ongoing calls for President Joko Widodo to urgently set up a special investigation team to look into the acid attack against anti-corruption investigator Mr. Novel Baswedan. The attack in front of Baswedan's house has left him with severe eye injuries, and he is currently hospitalized in Singapore. 2 weeks after the attack on April 11th, the police have yet to make any arrests or make any useful progress in the case. As a senior investigator in Indonesia's Corruption Eradication Commission, known as KPK, Mr. Baswedan was involved in investigating several high-profile corruption cases, including the electronic identity card case involving Parliament chairperson Mr. Setia Novanto, and the corruption case involving General Budi Gunawan, head of the intelligence agency. There is public concern that the attack against Mr. Baswedan is part of the campaign to weaken the KPK as a frontline institution against corruption. Two years after Nepal suffered the devastating earthquakes of April 2015, reconstruction in the country is still in limbo. More than 9,000 people were killed and over 500,000 houses were destroyed in the aftermath. Despite the huge amount of aid given to the government, earthquake victims are still languishing in tattered and leaking tents. According to the National Reconstruction Authority's report, only some 22,000 homes have been reconstructed so far. There are at least 500,000 homes yet to be constructed. Similarly, close to 100,000 families from those eligible to receive grants have not yet been given the money. Poor and marginalized groups like Dalits are among the most adversely affected. Many of them do not even have ownership of land, complicating their ability to claim relief and pledged monetary assistance from the government. There has been criticism that Nepal's natural disaster is being compounded by the man-made disaster of lethargic government. Of the $3.4 billion of aid that has arrived in Nepal, only $276 million has so far reached families because of excessive bureaucracy. According to Prakash Mahara, the Asian Human Rights Commission's Nepal desk officer, Nepal's sleeping government needs to wake up and address these pressing issues rather than focusing only on the country's constitutional crisis. Finally, the Urgent Appeals Weekly features 3 cases, one each from India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. In India, a human rights defender from Assam, Pandita Acharya, has received death threats, rape threats, and other abusive messages on social media for sharing her thoughts on a social platform in Jorhat after she condemned the arrest of 3 people for the possession of beef. In Bangladesh, an 18-year-old ethnic minority student, Mr. Romel Chakma, was tortured to death by army officers in the Chittagong hill tracts. After Romel succumbed to his injuries in hospital, army officers seized his body and burned it. No complaint has been registered. In Pakistan, disappearances continue in Sindh province with the government crackdown on Sindhi nationalist groups. Most recently, 1 government officer, a school headmaster, and 4 political activists went missing after their arrest by a group of police and other unidentified people in plain clothes. That is all for this episode of Just Asia. For more on these and other issues, please visit www.humanrights.asia or www.alrc.asia/justasia. Thank you for watching and see you next week.